Imagine knowing exactly what your students are learning and exactly which steps you need to take next.
Join us in Down with the Reading Quiz to craft meaningful and productive formative assessments that move away from gotcha moments of basic recall and toward assessing what your students actually can do.
In this 30-minute free masterclass, we'll share 3 powerful assessment keys that work for any novel at any time of the year.
Head to shop.bravenewteaching.com/masterclass to sign up, and we'll also send you a free workbook to keep track of all your notes.
Once again, that's shop.bravenewteaching.com/masterclass to nail formative assessments forever.
Hey, Amanda.
Hey, Marie.
What are you up to later? Want to join me for happy hour?
I'm all in.
And guess what's amazing? Our listeners and friends of the podcast can also join us because Brave New Teaching Happy Hour has officially launched. Cheers!
Cheers, everyone. We are officially hanging out a little bit longer after school with an extended, extra private podcast feed just for you.
Yes. Members of Happy Hour get extra 15 minutes of the podcast, give or take, because you know us, we run a little bit long. It's just kind of how we are. But if you would like to get in on this Happy Hour action, please join us. It is only $5 a month. Head to curriculumrehab.com/happy hour and get yourself signed up, because when you're there, Amanda, tell our friends what we do every month for our Happy Hour members.
I think my favorite part is coming up with a new free resource for our listeners every month. And then we pretty much break down that resource and how to use it. We also like to have guests on to do extended episodes and even Q&A that's just for you about that resource. It's really exclusive and super private just for you.
So if you are like us and you like hanging out, you like chit-chatting about all things that are teaching, teacher life, and everything under that umbrella, join us for happy hour and we will see you there. Bye.
Bye.
Well, hello and welcome back to Brave New Teaching, and welcome back, if you are here in real time, to the back to school season. Welcome back, Amanda. Hi.
Hey, everyone. Welcome. I'm so happy you're here. And I'm guessing if you're listening, you are ready for this. We talked a lot this summer about doing things at your own pace and kind of getting PD, school stuff, like as you like it, if you don't like it, like kind of being at your own space. So I'm happy that you're here and that you're ready, because we're ready for you too.
Absolutely. And if you're not ready, but you're like, oh, I don't really have a choice, I need to be ready, you are also in the right. Like, I feel like that's obviously we're recording this a little bit earlier than exactly back to school season. And I'm looking ahead going, am I going to be ready? I don't know. But I'm not going to have a choice, am I? Because school's going to start August 17th, whether I like it or not, whether I'm ready or not. I'm always ready to see kids. I'm just never quite ready to like do the teaching, you know?
Yeah. And be back in the schedule and be back in the necessity of being on top of things.
Right. And it's like, it feels, some years I'm all in and I'm like, yes, I need this schedule. I need it right now. I am craving the structure. And then some years, which I think this one is one of them, I'm like, meh, like, or I could get up when I get up and do what I'm going to do and drink hot coffee and then like throw my kids in the pool at my mom's house at some point. You know, like it's just been very fluid, which is absolutely something that we need during breaks. If you missed our episode earlier in the summer about breaks, yes, we were talking about summer break, but like it's all breaks, right? It's even long weekends. It's just ways to like intentionally recharge. And that is what I have been doing all summer long. So I just kind of see this as a bit of a shock to my system, but it's also a really exciting time. Back to school is so exciting. And like there's something about teachers, especially, that we get like silly excited every year. Like every year, I get the bug every single time.
I don't know if it's part of our DNA, because I remember like for years of my childhood also having it then. I mean, back to school stuff would go up at, you know, whatever store. And I was begging my mom to go back to school shopping in July. And she was like, Amanda, no. Like, I mean, she'd have to rein me back. And I think a lot of us still feel that same, I don't know. I think it's just this beautiful part of this career that we get the chance to start over. I mean, all the
Sure.
time, not just at back to school. I mean, we have the luxury of quarters, semesters, holiday breaks. Like it's a really, of all the unhealthy things that come with teaching, I think it was always the thing that really helped me was I could take a deep breath and I could reset even over a weekend. If things were not going well, we could reset. And I think that the back to school is when I always had the most oomph and gusto to
Sure.
start fresh and do new things. But, we're going to talk about this in this episode. The idealization of August for me a lot of times got out of hand.
Well, you and me both, my friend, and that is why we get along so well. Yes. So, friends, we are here today to talk about something that actually one of my dear friends at school coined, except I think she calls it August dreams, November realities, where like you're like going, all of a sudden November hits and you're like, holy mackerel. But we're going to talk today about August dreams, September realities, because that reality hits you faster sometimes when some of your dreams are a little loftier than others. And that's what we are going to get into in just a couple of minutes. But first, Amanda, do you want to say it? Do you want me to say it? I mean,
I can't, I feel like it's just against nature for me to say it.
Maybe you're right. Cue the music.
You're listening to Brave New Teaching, and we are so much more than a podcast.
We give teachers the inspiration, support, and tools to challenge the status quo.
I'm Amanda, and I'm a former English teacher from Illinois.
And I'm Marie, and I'm a teacher from Southern California.
Join us at bravenewteaching.com to find out more about our courses, festivals, and get every episode's show notes.
We're so glad you're here. Enjoy the show. All right, my friends, let's dream a little. Dream a little dream, will you?
Yes.
Dream a little dream with me? Okay. So let's dream. It is, for me, school starts, I think I said in the intro, like August 17th. It's always middle of August, like the third week. And I start getting dreamy, I'd say late July, very, very beginning of August. And my dreams include things like decor in my classroom, because that always makes me feel refreshed. Like I'm the girl who, if you give me a little bit too much time alone in my house, I will move the couch and the beds and like swap rooms around and do all of that. That is something that for me makes me energized, and even just like changing stuff out on the wall, moving furniture around. Yes, beyond decor, moving things around sometimes can make me feel very refreshed. My students always joke, like about halfway through our time together, they'll come in and they're like expecting it now.
Yeah, they know what they're getting
will be
into.
rearranged. Yeah. At like sometime like right after Thanksgiving or like something like that, I will have rearranged the room. What else do I dream? What do you dream of in August?
Oh my gosh. I probably, if you talk about early career, Amanda, it was definitely things like efficiency. I know I was and I guess I'm still that way too. Like, how can I make this part of my room better? How can I make this procedure better? And all of that was usually tied to the physical space. So like you said, rearranging and reorganizing. And then it was also decor. It was also the theme. What's going to be fresh or new this year? What's the exciting way that kids are going to be dazzled when they walk in the room? There was a season of, I was pinning interactive bulletin boards and door decks for a long time. And then I realized how long those took to make. Just like your classroom door, like door decoration.
Oh, for decoration. I heard deck like slide.
I wrote, that's what I said. They're called door decks. It's duh.
Oh.
Yeah. Hello. This is like a thing.
News
door
to me. You're so profesh with the
with my abbreviations.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. They're called abbreves now.
Well, then it was supply. It was supplies too. Like, let's be honest. I was hoarding supplies, rearranging supplies. Shopping.
So I always get these ongoing project or like system kind of dreams. Like one year, when I was teaching Lord of the Flies a lot, I got a whole Survivor thing going, right? Where it was like ongoing, like we're talking through the entire quarter or through the whole semester. It was that long ago. I'm still teaching semesters. Or like an ongoing kind of team building reading Olympics or like all of these, they sound so fun, right? And those are the big dreams that I get. They're these big, huge dream big project, like Genius hour things, like that kind of stuff are where my dreams lie. And I will talk about going down the rabbit hole. Like I dive head first into those dreams and then the reality hits. Right.
Well, I feel like a lot of my dreams, it's so funny you said that, because a lot of my dreams now that I'm like reflecting were based off of the nightmares of the previous year. So like my first 4 or 5 years of teaching were classroom management disasters. I swear in my undergrad, I learned so much about stuff that I never used. Like stuff that like, I learned it and it was fine, but classroom management was so hard for me for a long time. And I feel like a lot of my dreams were, this is the system that's going to fix it all. And I'm going to buy these bins and there will be no more problems with no names or late work. Or I think that's why I was so procedure oriented, is because I thought that like a new procedure would fix all of my classroom management problems and that I would be able to fix them all in August and that I would never have to address classroom management again.
Think about the psychology though that we're fed from everything to, well, like if you just look at like teacher Pinterest and teacher social media, heck yeah, color code those books and they'll never get out of order again.
Done.
They will automatically grow legs and move themselves to the correct order and they will sign themselves in and out. Like it is the most amazing thing that happens when you color code a book. But like we're fed that in our lives anyways. Like you all of a sudden eat this way and your knees will never hurt again. You know what I mean? Like it's like quick fixes. Yes, quick fixes instead of setting yourself up for like ongoing maintenance. That is something that is very much, I don't know if it's just the American way or if it's part of just our generation or like what it is, but that's something I've gotten my whole life.
And that's exactly what I meant kind of in the intro with this, with the problem with August. As wonderful it is to start over, I think that the dangerous part is the thought that you have to start all over, or that when you start over, you shall repair all things and never have to visit it again. And that was very hard. I wasn't listening to podcasts or no one was teaching me about this stuff. And I don't know, I don't see anyone writing about this either. This is one little tiny episode in the universe, but this is the real like reality check for me.
I think that it is potentially not like scary, but there's a fine line. And I mean, I talk about an old episode also when we were talking about teacher TikTok and quit talk and that negative soup that you can get into. It's soup now, but like it's a spiral of negativity. And so I think when people start talking about the beginning of the year, you don't want to get into the drudgery of like, and that's absolutely not what we're talking about. And I think obviously anybody that's made it this far into the episode is not hearing that. But that's probably why there's not a whole lot of it out there. Like it's because we are wary of beginning a year in negativity and therefore everything's great and shiny and ponies and rainbows and totally it can be, but also like be realistic because those September realities are going to bite you in your butt.
I think that's exactly where we're at. And that's I think how you and I are all the time is we are all about getting stupidly excited about things. And I love that. But also being realistic in terms of how you're going to be able to maintain your own happiness, your own enthusiasm, your own building, right? These relationships with students, building your classroom over time. Especially if you're a young teacher, this is something that maybe you're still learning. And we want to just encourage you, like, it's okay. It's okay.
Well, we talk all the time offline too about not wanting to be that seasoned teacher who goes, okay, sweetie, let me know how that goes. But we've been around the block and we know that something that's sustainable is going to take a different approach than something that is, well, bam, right out of the gate and then it's going to fizzle out really, really quickly because we've done the fizzle so many times. But we also don't want to be like it could work for somebody else. Something that takes tons of high energy could be the thing that anchors them in their year and is like the thing that the whole year centers around. That's just not been our experience in a lot of the things that we have already described. Like Genius Hour did not work for me.
And that's fine. But going into it with an experimental attitude and recognizing that what you learn from it is still valuable and that the kids will be fine.
Please excuse this brief interruption, brave new teachers. We want to tell you about a free email kind of challenge series that we have for you, and it is called the Unit Makeover.
This is something that we started way back in the day because we saw how powerful it was for helping teachers get their vision boards made. So from vision boarding to essential questions to supplemental texts and building assessments, we have a free 10-day, 2-week email series that you can sign up for right now.
Absolutely. Head to the show notes or just anywhere at bravenewteaching.com and get yourself signed up for our unit makeover challenge. If you're anything like us, you are go, go, go all the time, especially when it is a busy season and you are in the classroom and you are going and teaching and doing all the things. And of course, that's also when you have all the brilliant ideas on all the ways that you want to fix up or revamp or update one of your units that you have that you are currently working on that you just did, right? You've got all those Post-its going in your paper calendar. You've got all the notes and comments on the side of your digital calendar. This is an opportunity during your busy season to take all of those notes and implement them right here, right now at your own pace. It's very, very doable and it is absolutely free.
We will hold your hand through every step of the process. So as the emails come, you can do the tasks or print the PDF, throw it in a binder, and do it as you're ready. We are just here to be by your side to help put into place all of these dreams that you've got scattered all over your classroom. So head to the show notes right now, jump in, drop your email, and we'll send over that first email right away.
Absolutely. We cannot wait to see the way that your unit makeovers go. So make sure that you post on social media and tag us at Brave New Teaching. And let's get back into the show, shall we?
Let's go. And I think, really what Marie and I want to do for the duration of this episode is go through with everyone, veterans and newbies alike. We're going to kind of do a checklist with you of the things that might balance out the ways in which you direct your energy in August. Because bring it all, bring all the energy, all the fun, all the enthusiasm, do not let that fire go out. But we want to kind of go through a checklist of things that need to be at the top before you lose your mind and before things get hard.
The things that are going to bite the hardest when the realities really do meet ground, and the things that will also set you up really, really well for just a smoother fall or whatever it is, whenever it is that you're starting. Truly, we are talking about starting back in the fall, August dreams, and then those September realities or whatever that means for you whenever you start. I know some people start in July, which sounds cruel. I'm sorry. But maybe you're out in May. Are you out in May if you start in July? You're out in May anyways, and you start in August, right?
We start August 8th or 10th usually. But we're out before Memorial Day.
Yeah. How? How is that 180 days? Okay, that's a podcast for another day.
It just is.
I don't, the math does not work for me on this one.
We don't have a ski week, Marie.
Okay, maybe you're right. Okay,
some of us don't take a ski week in February.
Oh, well, there it is.
But anyway,
look at us doing math. Okay. So one of the things that so my list of must do's that go along with my dream projects for back to school, I have a few things that I wrote down, and one of them is a little bit dreamy, but it also just sets the tone really, really well. But the first thing that I have found every single year that if I don't have this established or reestablished, it always bites me in the butt about 3 weeks into school is a turn in and pass back process that is really well articulated. That is something that I train myself in and train students in to keep me accountable, because I will say, oh, whatever, just put it on my desk. Oh, yeah. I'll put a pile of graded papers on the floor. Cut to a few weeks later, kids are like, hey, do you have that one quiz? Because I want to use it on my summative. And I'm like, balls, I have no idea where I put those graded. They're shoot. Every time. 15 years in, it still happens. And so I know that the years that I've been the most successful with the overturn of paper, whether that's digital or hard copy or both, because I'm now finding myself doing a mix of both, is really well articulated and train the kids to keep me accountable for turn in and for pass back, so that they're expecting things on certain days and they're asking me where they are. Because half the time it's not that I haven't graded it. It's just that I forget to turn it back, give it back to them. I just don't do it.
your item goes perfectly with one of mine. And I think that, all of these things are for you to put on your radar for intentionally planning experiences where students can actually do these things. So if you want kids to practice the turn in and pass back procedure, we have to give them assignments. So as tempting as it is to do like 70 icebreakers the first week of school, maybe one of those requires students to do something and turn it in. For me, like right alongside of that would be assessments. I think assessments need to be given right away. They don't need to be ridiculous or hard or, on something that kids don't understand. But for me, like the writing rubric that I use, I want students to be uber familiar with the language, how the rubric works, and also how revision works and how grading policies work. And I have made the mistake of waiting to give an assignment until September, and everything else has just kind of been, handed in and handed back and no big deal.
Or it's just been it's been informal, it's been anecdotal, it's been you doing a lot of observing. Yeah, totally.
And so it's really helped me to give an assignment, no matter how big or small, that's not signing the syllabus, because that's not student skill work, but giving a real type of assessment. Marie and I talk a lot about formative assessment. We have this awesome masterclass. If you have not caught it yet, it's called Down with the Reading Quiz. And it's free, so you can go watch it right now. And we have lots of ideas for you that you could definitely use in those first 2 weeks of school that will help you, one, practice the turn-in situation, the pass-back situation, but also give you a chance to grade something for students to start getting familiarized with your rubric language, whatever that is. I don't know. I've waited on that one and I kind of regret it.
Well, and it also sets a tone of, we are going to develop relationships in this class. We are going to have fun in this class. You're going to learn in this class. And there's going to be rigor, and that rigor comes with assessment. And that's it. That's it.
So I think those two go together because they're both about the procedure, but also about the rigor for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And it helps students get, like you were saying, used to your like rubric language or whatever that means. And also half of the struggle, and this is what we talk about in part of the masterclass, half of the struggle with like formative assessments, especially, is students learning the system of the assessment itself and learning this, like, so yes, if you haven't already seen, or if you have already seen, you can totally watch it again. Down with the Reading Quiz. I'm so glad you said that. I didn't even think about it. Like, that is a great way to get started. And that's totally something I do on like day 2. We do a Sesame Street quiz. So take a look at our show notes on this one for Down with the Reading Quiz, and for a couple episodes where we've talked about specifically Sesame Street quizzes, which is one of the biggest parts of our masterclass. Okay. Another thing that it's not the most sparkly and shiny, but it does go back to our collaboration series where we were talking about collaborating with the community at large. Have a plan for parent/guardian communication. Have more than a plan. Have templates written out for parent/guardian communication en masse. Like, have your back to school email written, welcome email written. Here's what to expect. Here's the syllabus, like whatever it is that you need to go out to parents and guardians specifically, have that pre-written. Have each of your benchmarks for grades that you like. I like to, especially when I teach seniors, which I will have all in the fall. I like to have safeguards in place for them and for myself, like an email that goes out right before progress notices are coming through. An email that goes out before the end of the like grading period for final grades that says, here's what's happening and here's what kids have, here's when they can turn in work and blah, 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 blah. Pre-write them now, because that will take you 40 minutes maybe to pre-write 4 or 5 emails and have them, and then you'll have them forever and you can swap out dates and do that kind of stuff. Like, have it all templated. Maybe even have like, what are your 3 most commonly asked questions by parents and guardians? Have some pre-written responses that you can copy and paste. It will help you stop procrastinating, because we all do it. If you don't, then good job when it comes to answering, because I always want to be thoughtful and I want to make sure that I'm paying attention to answering the question. If I have something that's pre-written and then I can just personalize it, it takes some of that pressure off of my brain, and I can just send it back to, mom or aunt or whoever it is that is like emailing me about little Susie and her grades.
This is, again, like pairs beautifully with the other thing that I was going to add to this checklist, which, by the way, if you would like a copy of this checklist, we will throw one in our show notes. You can just download it for free, and you can have this to print and throw in your planner. I would say, like, right along with the parents is figuring out your system. So if you already have one from last year that works great, you're fine. But if this is something you struggled with, then this is definitely a priority. And that is figuring out your organization system for communicating with students that have IEPs and 504s. And so that triangle, you, your co-teacher, the parent, you, the case manager, the guardian, whatever that group looks like. I feel like there have been years, and mostly due to like just not having figured it out yet, that I would all of a sudden get an email from a case manager about a student and a particular goal. And I was like, I read those goals at the beginning of school, but we've been doing get to know you stuff, so I haven't really revisited it. And like, and they're looking for information, or a parent's, concerned about something, and I'm like, which kid is that again? Well, to be honest, like it's a little confusing at the beginning of the year, figuring out who's who has what goals, who has what needs, who needs to sit where, who needs what special different accommodations, whether those are physical or academic or both. I don't have the recommendation for the perfect system. Like I know what worked for me, which was leaning on my co-teacher because she was so good at that. Like she would set up spreadsheets, and she was like, she kept me in check. So either that's like recruiting your co-teacher or just doing some research, but a system that's going to make sense for you to kind of check back in and like get to know those kids quickly is really important. And that's just coming from 13 years of, I've always co-taught with special ed teachers. So that was always something that I needed to improve every year.
So, and I would even add into that, like EL, language learners, because state of California, we have got complete immersion into gen ed. There's no more, well, I think at a certain level, I'm supposed to know this completely, but it's summer while we're recording, so my brain isn't all the way here. But like I have found that creating a system where like weekly I check in on everybody's different sorts of learning goals and every different like accommodation that I'm making, and making sure like, okay, and then looking at the week ahead, what is so-and-so and so-and-so going to need? What kind of copies am I going to need to make that are different? I mean, I've talked about this before. You've talked about this before. Generally speaking, when you're making accommodations, what's good for one is going to be good for just about all. So just like put that in your pocket. But if there's something really specific to a really specific learning need or learning goal, getting into a habit of checking in on that stuff weekly, whether it's a spreadsheet, whether it's just printing everybody's like, like little sheet or something like that, so that you have it present of mind, because the exact same thing happens to me. I just have so many stinking kids. And even if they don't have formalized like IEP learning goals, they still have their own needs. And so like getting to know them is hard right at the beginning when you've got a couple hundred kids all of a sudden whose names you need to learn and all of that. So like, systematize it. Is that a word? Systematize it. Yeah. And like make it a little bit easier on yourself. And it's okay. You don't have to be embarrassed if you don't remember everybody's learning goals from the second week.
No, you don't. But it's very, very helpful to have it on the forefront of your mind when you're distracted by the shiny objects at Target, to remember like, okay, one of the things that I need here is a really gorgeous binder where I'm going to put everything I'm printing for my EL kids and my IEP kids. Like,
and my like emergency med needs, like who's allergic to bees and peanuts? I'd like to know that, like put it all in one place so I'm not searching for it and I can review it until I know it.
And know yourself, because some of you really do prefer to have that digitally somewhere. For me, it was housed like in our grading software. And I was like, oh, it's there if I need it. Like,
And I forgot how to find it every time. I was like, wait.
I always forgot how to find it. Then I had to look for the email that told you how to find the thing. Then I had to find the thing. And I was like, Amanda, like maybe spend less time with a bulletin board and more time printing and organizing this stuff, at least from the get-go. And that's, I guess, I just want to just have one quick little reminder, because Marie and I have said it in another back to school episode. You don't have to have your entire room set before kids get there.
No.
You can add to, modify, and change your physical classroom all year long. So take that pressure off your shoulders to have like gorgeous reveal, ultimate classroom makeover on the first day of school. Doesn't need to happen. It needs to be functional. And then you can keep going as the year progresses too.
Well, so that actually leads into my last little like
Look at
must
us.
do. I
Look
know
at us flowing.
and we like didn't actually plan out how this was going to go
No.
completely. We just have done it. So while Amanda's saying no, your classroom does not have to be totally perfect, and I myself am very guilty of wanting everything in its place. Because and practically, it's because I know once I get going with students, there's a lot of stuff I'm never going to get back to. So then let's lean into that and know that it must not be that important. If I'm not going to get back to it, it's not that important. So what is the most important stuff? Setting up an environment that I want students to experience when they come into my classroom. And so whether that means the physical furniture layout, like experimenting and trying something with that, whether that means a certain amount of decor or like some sort of like color, something that's around that's like the environment that I want them to feel. For me, it's not even all of that as much as it is a playlist of music or like go-tos for work time music. I have found that that is the game changer. When I'm not playing music, students look at me like, what's off here? Like I can't put my finger on it, but something's off. And I go, oh, I forgot to turn on Spotify. And they go, oh yeah. So like find that music for reading playlist or whatever it is. For me, that's a piece of building the environment because that is the first thing that students are greeted with when they come into my room. Me at the door, something up on the screen. So that's the other thing that I like to look at is just kind of like, what's a really simple, easy to read template for what are my slides going to be? And what is the music that's going to be playing? Those are like my two environment pieces. And the other stuff is gravy, but like those are the must do's before I can get into those bigger dreams.
And you didn't say it, but I know I'm reading your mind right now. But I think also like the arrangement and organization of your desks and tables.
Oh, yes. Yes. That's what I mean. That's what I mean
know
by
you
like
spent a long
furniture
time
layout.
on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That was always for me too, is kind of not obsessing, but like really thinking about flow of the room. And it was always really important to me to have kids not sitting in rows and sitting in some kind of group. That I've been in a lot of different situations in terms of tables and individual desks and classroom shapes and sizes. And that was always the puzzle that I was trying to solve. And I always spent too much time on it because it was always different when actual human bodies were in the room than in my layout. So I always think about it, but I also try to like kind of give myself a break because I knew I'd have to adjust once, fully grown teenagers were sitting in those arrangements that I concocted.
Right.
And no one can get through the row that I made.
Their big knees won't fit. I know, because they're like 6'2", and you're like, I did not account for that.
So that's really important. I'm with you 100% on that. And I think I just have two more quick things that you can preempt. They actually kind of go together. They're sort of systems, but they're also just kind of the realities of teaching right now. One is that you're going to get new students in September.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to start
January,
or
right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so I think all of that points to remembering that of all the chaos that this whole season brings, take time to have your system, whether that's on Canvas or Google Classroom, or I remember the days where this was a manila folder or a cubby or a mailbox. But as you're kind of going through all the things, putting to the side extras for the inevitable fluctuation of your roster. I know for us, the roster was pretty fluid for about 2 or 3 weeks, especially when I was teaching 11th and 12th grade. Our 12th grade classes were electives, kind of like, students could kind of choose which English they wanted. And, every now and again, a couple kids would get into like, I don't want to do this. And the counseling department would let them switch. Even they really weren't supposed to switch. But anyway, things happen. At the junior level, a lot of kids might drop out of AP and down into gen ed and vice versa. So definitely as you're going through the things, keeping track of a way to hand or deliver electronically what you think is important to make up, what those kids can just peruse and move on with their lives. Be ready for that. And then the other thing you want to be ready for, welcome to the teaching in the 2020s, is something we talked about back last year in October in our banned book series. Be ready for people to contest books on your list or books in your library.
Just content in general. If you're not an ELA teacher,
content in general.
Yeah. Have a plan for your content that just with your ethos and your why. And yeah, that is the reality.
And is that a form letter that you've drafted with your department? Maybe this is something that you don't take on, but you tell your department chair, say, hey, this is an issue I'm noticing across my Brave New Teaching podcast has made me aware of it, or I'm in this Facebook group and people are talking about it a lot. I'm a little worried that there might be a problem with X, Y, and Z. Can we as a department, as a united front, have a response? So it's not on you alone every time to confront that parent, or even it's just a procedure. Like there's a confrontation or there's a contention, you forward that email to your department chair, or you forward a canned response. I don't know what that looks like for you, but it's definitely something that's easier to handle when you're breathing and maybe before kids come than when you're stifled and crazy with everything once you're really doing content in September. Yeah. Also, what are you going to do when you are starting content that day and the parent's like, I don't want my kid to read this book? Okay, well,
it's as frustrating as it might be. We have the obligation to like address that. Yeah.
You can't avoid it. So having a plan will make that situation a little bit less terrible.
Sure.
So that's for both new students and things like that, contentious curriculum, figure out where that's going to be addressed in and amongst the fun, shiny objects of August.
Yes. Friends, we have given you quite the checklist. And like Amanda said, make sure you head to the show notes to see them all laid out, because we went into detail as to kind of like why and how these are the things that the realities come and bite us for. And we know that they're not always the most exciting things, the must-dos, but they really will set you up for success. And if those are all taken care of, then you can get into the big shiny objects and the stuff that like really lights you up. And whether you finish it or not, that's fine. Take care of this stuff first. Take our advice. If you have anything actually to add to that list, will you send it our way? Come and check us out on Instagram. We're just at Brave New Teaching, and let us know what you think. Is there something that we missed, or is there something that really resonated with you? Because we would love to share that with the rest of our community. And I think this has been a lovely, lovely beginning to the back to school season. This will help me get a little bit more grounded as well, reminding myself of the things that I need to take care of to be like responsible and not pulling my own hair out by Labor Day.
It's the truth. And if this is something that really helped you, or you're finding these episodes consistently supporting you, we would love your review on Apple iTunes. That would be just make my day. I love reading those.
And always, we like to say, like, we want to be the ones that will start conversations for you with your colleagues and with the rest of your department. And if you are finding yourself getting into like PD and stuff that you're like, why are we doing this right now? Maybe just like nudge this episode towards somebody and be like, hey, can we like look at our priorities a little bit here? If that helps, and then ask them to stop listening before I started this explanation.
Well, and with that, I think I want to leave you all with this kind of anticipation for what's coming next. Marie and I are moving into a really important classroom management series. And we know, and we talked about this for a long time, that of all the things that this current season will need is a refresher on all of the balance required to classroom manage. So we are going to get into that in several episodes, Marie and I, some interviews, and we're really looking forward to the series that's coming up.
Absolutely. And so friends, until we meet again, thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Thanks again for listening to Brave New Teaching.
We'd love to keep the conversation going over on Instagram.
And while you're there, check out the links in our bio for the most up-to-date events going on in the Brave New Teaching community.
Thanks for being here, and have a great week at school.